Hello, everybody, and welcome back to week number 2 of stage 4 of Quake Pro League. We're up next. We're taking a trip back into the Americas. Dooi versus psygib going head to head. Two players that are very close together on the leaderboards, as I can go over there and check. Psygib currently number 11 with 277 points, and Dooi 13. So they're pretty close to each other. So with the points that you get, especially for a one-sided 3-0, matters a great deal to both of these players. How are you going, Dan? All good?
Good. Yeah, no, it's going well. It's been a good day so far, for the most part. A little bit surprised by that, to be fair. Would have expected that psygib would have quite a considerable lead in the leaderboard over Dooi, considering at least previous expectations. However, it does feel that psygib is one of those players, once again, that started exceptionally well in the early stages of the Quake Pro League and just hasn't developed since then. Fairly kind of plateau. Whereas Dooi, he's been a bit back and forward, but ever since getting back into the Pro League has definitely taken a step up in terms of consistency.
As we can see from psygib, there's one thing that's always been apparent. It has been the purest combat skills. So when the time comes to fight, often psygib is, if you know he needs to hit a shot, you can bet that he will do it. He's a very combat-oriented player, and it's kind of built into his gameplay for that reason. It's just that, sometimes he just gets he either will get results or not get results that can actually be quite surprising. Dooi's side, definitely the most offensive player that we have. Like, he, not all the time, you're not always going to see him be that kind of one-trick pony in essence, but if there's one player in this entire Pro League that isn't shy of just digging his heels in on a map and taking a 10-minute one frag map, like 0-0 until sudden death, Dooi's the guy for that.
Yeah, I think some of the games I've seen out of him might be the most defensive games I've seen in Quake, full stop. And there are pros and cons to that. I just feel there's a big difference between downright negative and defensive and being passive. So he needs to find a better balance on occasion, but as you rightly say, when he wants to put out all the stops, he can do. And you can see some of these highlights, like incredibly gifted player, has the potential to turn it on. I think it's just how he establishes and finds that balance is the big question for him.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd ever believe it, you'd actually, it's definitely a thing that Dooi is not as, believe it or not as defensive as yours when he first joined Pro League. I know there was an element of Dooi where he was in a kind of a short-lived competitive retirement, and he came back in for Pro League and started grinding again, was able to qualify his way through, and hence he's here now. So there's been a bit of more of a learning experience on a base level for Dooi than there has been for other people. And I think that's one of the reasons that he's had a very specific, a unique style to him. And on the note of that, we're going to check the map picks. Corrupt keeps the first choice. psygib's going to go in with the Ranger up against Dooi BJ, Blood Run for the Doomslayer and the Strog, and then finally psygib. I mean, I know psygib really loves Keel, so we get to see him rock the Keel versus the Anarchy. So that's going to be a cool matchup for sure.
Can also see Dooi banning out the Scale Bearer because that's a very powerful pick for psygib as well, even though Dooi does like it himself. Nice to see both these players not sticking to the heavies as they often do. So it's going to be a bit more interesting, as we do have a couple of mirror matchups at the start before running into that Keel versus Anarchy, where there's obviously a huge difference, and Anarchy can find a lot of trouble, particularly if Dooi does adopt that super defensive play style and doesn't have any items to win. He might be in a world of pain on that map.
So if I had to put you on the spot and ask what kind of predictions you think would come through, who's your money on this time?
I'm still feeling psygib for sure, and I think it'll be a 3-0. As we talk about extensively, it's very rare he gets steamrolled, so it's always a close affair. It just feels that doesn't always make it over the line, and psygib should have it in his locker to walk away with a fairly comfortable victory.
Yeah, I think I definitely would say that I think psygib has a better chance here too. It's also down to the fact that if Dooi wants to play that a more reserved style, when it just comes down to like a low frag count, psygib is so comfortable and in many cases quite clutch. Like, he's historically been quite a clutch player. So when you come in the fact that he's got really good combat skill and the fact that he's got, a nice amount of, I guess, what's the word? I don't want to use the word clutch twice, but I'm just going to use the word again twice. That when the time comes for psygib to step up in like a sudden or something, he's quite good at that. So against someone like Dooi, I just think that he's a bit more comfortable in this whole matchup.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
As we're loading in now, Corrupted Keep. Fight. First map of the day, psygib for Dooi with these two players. And we'll see how warmed up Both of these players are. The immediate pop of the tool wheel for dooi. He's not going to get a chunk of damage, but looks like the early fight's going to break out, and some rocket damage coming out from dooi all the same, looking good. And psygib, difficult for him to challenge this with the current lack of health that he's working on.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's a matter of time at the moment as dooi is trying to chase him down. psygib is dead. And it's bad timing as well, as dooi can force the spawn. Pressure out says Mega. psygib doesn't get this, he's in a lot of trouble, but he does get it. Super fortunate. He can also then pressure the exit of this heavy as well. Does get position, but dooi goes out through the low ground, which is smart.
Now, from this stage, psygib's done a good job of being able to at least re-establish himself on the map. The fact that he spawned and went straight for that Mega, and he was able to kind of escape that fight and get some damage at the same time. This is a tricky fight for dooi to take. psygib sitting on just so many resources to back up and restack, as he's now been able to put himself up to just short of a regular old stack again. He's in a better position for the heavy too, so dooi, he's going to get some of that damage from range, but now at last, psygib takes it.
Yeah, and you're right. psygib worked that well, playing the range game, doing lots of chip damage. He's got himself better positioning for this Mega now, and with a decent split between the items, he can get both. Oh, dooi, how did he not see him?
Completely unreturned, and once more at a terrible time, because it's just in time for psygib to run in and take the Mega.
Oh yeah, dooi needs to be careful here. If he doesn't hit his shots, he's in trouble, and psygib does get... Did he get the item? I don't know who got that, actually. It sounded like psygib.
I think dooi got it.
Ah, it sounded like psygib got it, and I checked the stacks, and it was a bit... That was bizarre.
Well, currently dooi has 3 of the heavies,
yeah.
So one of them, I think, was. But this Mega, the next objective. Player's going to drop down, but psygib is in a better position. Oh, he pushes in full speed ahead. Not particularly sure dooi was ready for that one. A little bit more of that opening damage, but hard to say what the next choice is going to be here.
No way!
Shot! What a shot!
And psygib's doing an amazing job of maintaining this mid-ground. You can see him just pulling out a machine gun for the long-range damage, chipping away at dooi, using the orb perfectly. That was super unfortunate not to get a frag. But yeah, dooi needs to find a way in at the moment because control is just gone.
But even then, with dooi waiting around this corner, psygib is ready. Very rare that he goes around a corner that's not checked. And now, with the Mega being the next choice, that's a really important rocket to start things off with. Is it going to be enough to sway? The dual wheel, dooi perfectly timing that dual wheel. Just ready, that opening rocket for the information and the damage, and then the dual wheel to finish the job.
Well, that's why this champion suits doi's playstyle so well, because you could just hide and hide and hide, chip away at you, and then when you're out in the open, just bust through dual wheel to finish you off.
Wasn't a bad time for psygib to get frags, though, seeing as he did spawn right next to the heavy. As you can see now, just judging by the stack advantage, that's been enough to put him back in control, you know, put him back in charge, really. Does use the dire orb a little bit early, but that rocket, so good, the 100 damage like that. And dooi was again forced to retreat. But if there's any player that's going to be comfortable playing from behind, it'll be dooi, because that's what he does.
Yeah, but there's one thing playing defensive and another thing playing from behind, because that's when you need to be proactive and pressure. So he's often favoured approaches when his opponents are trying to pressure him. But that's
the time and a place, and that time was the time to pop the dire orb. But now with dooi, with the way dooi plays, every single individual frag that goes up, you would think actually adds a significant chunk of time to how much work he has to do.
Yeah.
Because he is so used to playing from that situation where he's down like by maybe 1 frag, or maybe it's a 0-0. And as long as he simply plays to not die, he can eventually squeeze out a frag eventually, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the longer the difference gets, the larger the difference gets. Kind of like what might be right now. Ah, here we go. Gets one of the frags. See, if that frag did go in his favor, you'd actually be quite worried about it. Because that would have been like 3 frags to make up for.
Yeah, but similarly again, psygib gets the heavy spawn, which means he's actually got the stack advantage, but that was great damage from dooi. Good double back from psygib, catching dooi off guard that. Oh no, he's
just a jump. Finishes it. Just like that. And he's been able to make it a 4-4.
Proving us all wrong.
He's just been more proactive, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
And he's now jumping towards the Mega. Soaks it up. But just in time, psygib to go get the heavy himself. They're consistently, rarely gone for the I take one, you take one. But yeah, psygib is weak.
Active in trying to pressure psygib before the Mega pickup, which would have won in potentially both items, but it's a higher risk play.
psygib's in a better position for this heavy. He's going to show he shows so much respect. Once more, they're going in for the trade-off. That's a bit of a nervous start there. The dual wield's been popped. dooi, he's going to push on. He gets a bunch of damage and the super shotgun to finish things.
One of the players could take a bit more impetus, probably dooi, and try and delay his pickup, which means it does split that timing. Oh no, that hurts. Yeah, that hurts. Now dooi should get both items. Once again, the spawn up close, psygib delaying.
I like that. He knows that doi's going to be able to stop. What? I was going to say, psygib knows that dooi has just taken the Mega. So before we get playing like an animal today.
psygib's got in position early for this Mega, but he's taking so much damage, he's going to die!
Again! Now,
oh no.
The delay in place means that psygib actually can't spawn and immediately go for the heavy, but thankfully he has got timing. dooi, he's quite weak actually. Hasn't got any armor to work with, and this is still Corrupted Keep we're talking about. The potential for a comeback is always there, bar the last, 5 seconds or whatever. Okay, taken out, and there's plenty of lights to start and recuperate.
There's plenty of time as well for psygib to make a comeback. He'll also be able to get both major items now. dooi probably won't stick around, or shouldn't do.
So doi's denied heavy. Does it cost him his life or not, though, remains to be seen.
He's got no weapons, but he's still living.
And this is dooi. dooi plays to not die. And that time is now 2 minutes left on the clock with the 3 frags of a lead. The dual wield means that psygib, he's going to be a madman to chase that down. Ooh, the plasma. The plasma.
This is a heavily contested choke point as doi's... Well, neither one's getting on top of the orb!
What? The fact that he managed to squeeze that one in. We talk about the clutch of psygib, that decision making. The play at the end there to steal it away. But now dooi, there's no dual wield in hand.
No,
He has to be very careful from this range. Oh, he gets it!
No, he's done it! Built himself a good lead just before the Mega. psygib will be pressuring it though. dooi is low. He can't fall back and restack. He's got the high ground. He's got the information. He just needs to play keep away. This is doi's strength now. He's got the dual wield up as well, so he can just run into a choke point. He needs to use it, which he will do immediately. And just plus back.
1 minute to get 2 frags is absolutely possible. It's not going to be just in the right time, though. The Mega's not going to spawn for a couple of seconds. So there's going to be time wasted, but it's enough for psygib to just have stack. Stack that he desperately needs. Looks like dooi was able to get rid of some of that cooldown, though. He's only just used the dual wield, and in 11 seconds he's got it back.
psygib's going to be fully aware of what's going on without dooi making a show at the major item. doi's trapped himself a little bit, does sneak on the low ground. That's a good pathing option.
Now dooi goes for the retreat. The dual wield is popped to spam out as many rockets as possible, and he can't.
And that will be game. dooi walks away with map 1.
And a 10-7 difference. I mean, that's not what
Oh no!
Oh dear! Now, if that wasn't as close as it was, Yeah, okay. Well, that's a thing. That's a thing that totally happened.
And the good thing about that victory was how dooi manufactured it from aggression. Like, he was on the back foot for huge periods of that game, but he always made sure he was aggressive and had a good foothold on the map. So it was untraditional dooi, and it was working like a charm.
He had just about 1,000 more damage too, and being able to pepper that one out obviously makes a big difference with the dual wield and the use of the dual wield too. We haven't really touched on that much, but Dewey's dual wield usage was just always at the right time. You know, It was either used perfectly defensively to counter a push from psygib, like we saw at the end, or it was in instances where he's outstacked, outgunned, but he sets up for one moment. That one moment to knock up and get the dual wield LG or something similar. That's all he needs. And if you are going to be dooi and you are going to be used to playing a reserved style,
that was disgusting.
You do spend a lot of you do spend a lot of time planning for that one moment, don't you? Yeah. So dooi, I mean, that's one thing that will never change. It's an awareness to go for that one big play. As we're going from one small map to another, Blood Run is the next choice.
See a lot of these frags, it's like you're slightly over aggressive, but doi's execution on point. Dooi always making himself felt. That was something that psygib did particularly well for the first few minutes with maintaining that big ground, but as soon as dooi was able to force him away from that, it was a dooi show. And the nice finishing frag. Knocking off the map.
There's a part of me, there's like a part of me that is thinking that and is thinking like, what if he didn't get that one frag near the end and it was like there was one frag in it and then that rocket happens?
That'd be amazing.
That would be the worst. I mean, the best for us, but the worst if you're the player it happens to. But we're loading
in another multiverse, that was the way it went, and dooi would be crying right now, but not in this one.
We'd be talking about how you've just got to forget about it. You got to forget about it because it's Blood Run next. Yeah. And that's one thing that hasn't changed. That was a disgusting. I just saw one of the most disgusting frag combos ever, and it was a warm up. So we're now loading into Blood Run. psygib and dooi. Dooi, in a change of pace, is able to take the first map. This is an opportunity to make it 2-0. We did think that psygib had the edge, already starting to prove people wrong out there. But here comes the immediate start. That tri-bolt, that tri-bolt certainly doesn't tickle.
Not at all. Unfortunately, dooi missing both. Rocket there on some good opening rocket jump, and that tri-bolt is not tickling again as it finishes this time.
It seems like as every defensive rail came forward, it's just... Well, on the subject of rails, seems like dooi's missed a fair few so far. More of those rails, but psygib is not missing them. Fight. Lovely mid-air. 100, just like that. But psygib makes the chase. A man is confident right now as he makes the push. Both players kind of missing some clutch rails at the last minute. Goes for the choice, the rockets. And it feels like that fight should have ended a good 5 seconds before.
Yeah, neither one were really in it. dooi now goes in aggressively. Will it pay off? No.
Now, the danger is this blood, and there's already 3 frags of a difference. Now, psygib, he is weak. And to give dooi that credit, psygib is incredibly weak, so he did a fair amount of work in that fight. Now he's found it. No rocket in hand. There's no rocket in hand, and psygib knows opportunity to escape. Good use of the teleporter to try and head him off. Looks like the LG should be the finishing blow. Those tri-bolt jumps when someone's weak always makes me worry a little bit because of how it's multiple bursts.
Would expect them to calculate it, but you never know. dooi needs himself a rail. But just trying to solidify the mega, which he does. See psygib keeping his pressure, doing so much damage.
Very aggressive.
He's won himself map control as well. But there's a lot of time before the mega, so psygib will still want to keep the pressure on.
Got caught swapping a little bit, not that it's going to really do much to change the tide of that fight. And with this mega spawning,
oh nice,
psygib gets the frag happily and then takes the mega as well, just to make that divide even more extreme. Here's a rail. Ouch. Ooh. I think we all felt that one.
This is where psygib comes into his own, when he has that rail at his disposal. It's what activates him as a player.
danger for dooi. Has to try and once more. He's going in with a champion that's very agile. So this is an opportunity for him to make his presence known more often, and he is trying to be more proactive. You can see it. It's just that off the back of an unfortunate map start, really, where it just all went wrong, and they're going to trade this. Not even psygib gets the frag. No trade to be had there. dooi has to show ultimate respect to that rail. No point sitting out there and peeking if you're not going to do any damage. Looks like psygib was ready for the drop down. More of the range shots coming through to push dooi away, make him uncomfortable. Only 3 minutes on the clock, and psygib's already got 5 frags here on Blood Run.
As you rightly say, there's only 3 minutes to go. So whilst there's a commanding to go, only 3 minutes in. So whilst there's a commanding lead, there's still a lot of time to go. But at the minute, dooi is really struggling with the rail range game that psygib is pulling out. Every time dooi tries to make a show on the map, psygib's got a rail in response. And yeah, dooi's hit 1 of 10 rails.
Yeah, his accuracy is not been his best friend right now. He has just hit 2 rails, 3 rails in a row. And
4! There we go.
Is it not just a curse? It's just you say one thing and then the opposite happens almost immediately?
He just increased his aim by 400%, 500%.
But now he's just, too rail happy perhaps. It's almost weird saying that after what just happened. No, he didn't have the right put out. Oh, he had an inch of a rail angle right there. An inch, but he didn't have the rail out.
Doesn't know where psygib is, or does he? He has a hunch.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced he's confident he's there.
Oh, now he knows.
But the opening damage was better than nothing for psygib. dooi drops down, but has to watch out. Hits the rail though. Now psygib from this position. This is a tree spot. dooi in a way better position. This heavy that's now spawned. Dooi's healthy. He's able to catch in between the rhythm of the rocket, so he's not caught by the damage either. Now 10 seconds away from Mega. This is dooi's opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive, looking for the rail angle. Had the right idea, but just couldn't quite catch it.
Just clipped a pixel there. It was nearly the perfect shot.
The danger is that dooi, he's more active, but now 5 minutes, and we have to remember this is Blood Run.
What I really like about dooi is how he's careful in his approach, always checking every corner. He does go skirting into an engagement here, but should get the better of psygib. He has the peak, I felt he could finish him off there, but decides not to. Instead, he backs off, picks up the heavy, and then decides to go in for the final kill. Methodical.
Tons of damage distributed there by psygib. Depending on his spawn, he might actually be in a pretty alright position. Because dooi, okay, there's that timing. A little bit of bonus damage. Some of that Mega's going to go away, but frag that dooi's able to establish, on top of the fact that he's got some items too. Now is his opportunity to really make something happen here. He has the speed element. I know Doomslayer has that double jump, but the crouch slide means that if dooi has to make chase, and he can make chase, he's just going to be able to go that little bit faster. If he catches psygib, kind of like right now psygib's in a difficult position. The rail misses its mark. That's unfortunate for dooi. He really needed that one to land.
But psygib now he's gone a bit too passive. dooi does have a mistake there. If psygib gets a free Mega, that's a big lifeline. As psygib was kind of struggling for a few minutes. Yes, he wasn't taking much damage, but not having a presence on the map was giving dooi a lot of space to work with.
Tri-bolt for information.
You can see now picking up that Mega, how much impetus it's given psygib. He's now picked up the heavy, and dooi is on the defense. So just a small mistake from dooi has cost him big time.
It's how he recovers from it. There's a lot of emphasis on hitting those rails now. With the stack that psygib's working on, we just saw the damage was taken. That means a rocket jump come through from psygib just to reposition, stop him from getting a rail angle towards near rocket. But we're back to that classic case where the player that's sort of behind is now towards the center of the map, and that's only because it's allowed to be so. psygib is more than comfortable playing those more unusual angles because he has the runaway to play. We have just over 2 minutes left to go. Defensive rockets, that one hitting mark means it's information for psygib. Easily can just run in there and take the Mega. No worries whatsoever. Now, how does dooi crack into this armor? It just seems like psygib has this brick wall. He's giving up very little angles. When it does look like you can do damage, there's a bunch of rockets coming your way because he's spamming out those corridors properly. Maybe some tri-bolt as well. Just playing the defensive Blood Run exceptionally rail exists for a split second, and again, dooi can't hit the shots. There's so much pressure to land those ranged rails at this situation, and he's having a hard time.
Yeah, and you can see that as much as Dewey's rail percentage is pretty low, if you look at like the last 10 rails Dewey's hit, they're all instant peak flick rails. He doesn't like to expose himself, so they're low risk but high reward rails.
Defensive Tribolt's going to come through, but dooi knows he's running out of time. He has to be aggressive, and wait a minute.
Nice!
In between the Tribolt. The perfect time. Unfortunately, he can't get it in between a major item spawn, but it's certainly be better than nothing. Now dooi has one more frag to get. psygib. Fresh off the spawn, he's got to get a little bit of weapons. He has the LG at least.
Dewey's got a good rotation going now. He'll get both major items here, and he can keep the pressure on psygib, who will just be playing this teleporter game now. He doesn't want to have a show on the map. psygib himself doesn't have any weapons either, so if dooi catches him, he's pretty much dead. Is he going to drop down here? No, but he hears dooi, and that's when he will back off. Remember, dooi does have the speed, so there's a good advantage that he's got there to kind of catch psygib, and therefore we will have to see great positional play from psygib coming out. He has a rocket now, which is a big lifeline. With no huge rush, a minute is still a lot of time for one frag.
As you can see, psygib, he's just playing the angles. He's playing the sound cue game. He's just listening out. Now there is a fight. dooi really has to make this one count. This has to be the thing that changes the tide. There is some damage. The Pika!
Oh no!
Almost hits. The rail misses the shot. That could be horrendous. Now psygib, look at how healthy he is.
He just needed to play a bit slower there. Didn't need to rush it. Could have got both major items and then pressured him, but instead psygib gets away with the mega, and now he's looking very healthy. He's just going to play the teleport to get out. dooi can't go through. He's going to be taking way too much damage. He knows exactly what he's going to do. But what can you do against it? That's why it works. That's why it's run.
It's all or nothing. dooi has to make this chase count. He is against Doomslayer. If he can get the damage, okay, that's some. Yes, a rocket jump. He has to.
He has to go.
Can he chase him in 10 seconds? He has to make sure his movement doesn't fumble. psygib's hitting all the angles. He can't hit rails anymore. Oh, the runaway game too extreme. At the last second, he gets it.
Ooh. Couldn't be closer. Okay.
And even looking at the control, it was almost evenly split. 9 to 8 heavies, 9 to 9 megas. I mean, that wasn't a game control at all. That was the final closing moments. psygib inching out the defensive game at the last second.
I have to admit this. I really enjoyed watching dooi's straw. I thought he played it really well. He was quick. He was aggressive. Proactive. It feels like every week we say, "Oh yeah, we know what we're going to get from dooi," and he just kind of turns it on his head and said that.
You thought, but I didn't. But a close ordeal. Extremely close. Now 1-1 though. Final map is going to mean a great deal here. But I'm just looking at how that went down, and it's need to see dooi being more proactive these days.
We said it before, like he built his game style off of he was obviously new to Great Champion in a sense, so he built his game style off of the way in which it was played at the time, which was round based, where you have to be more conservative every single one of your lives, whereas in time limit duel it requires a completely different method. And he's learning that now.
But it's great to see. I mean, I'm always happy in Pro League to see player growth, to be honest, because it's what leagues are all about, is to, you can go back to the start of a player when you see them for the first time in a league, and then you compare them to like the current time, or, later down the line, whatever it might be. It's always nice when you can just talk about how much a player has changed. Whether it's the scrims they do online constantly against each other, whether it's the plethora of online tournaments they take part in, or whether, now we're in Pro League days where it's weekly top level competition for these guys. And it clearly makes a big difference to how they can play.
Absolutely. But back on topic, I guess. This is where I was a bit concerned for dooi, just because he can get suffocated by the pure presence of Keel, particularly if psygib is going to turn on his game. Feeling a bit more comfortable now, considering I've seen him play on the Strog and how proactive he can be. He will need to keep that speed up throughout if he's not going to be overrun. So I think pressure for me is on dooi to make this one work.
This certainly wouldn't be the first time we've seen Keel work on Ruins of Sarnath either. It's normally sometimes a pick that you'd look at and you'd almost scratch your head at it and think, huh, really? time and time again, we've seen this champion really start to shine a little bit.
Well, there's kind of three key choke points. There's the two entrances to the Mega, and then there's the fight for the Heavy. And Keel shines in all those situations because you're safe in those choke points, you have a big stack, and you have grenades which cause chaos. So it makes sense if you're using it the right way.
Now, dooi, the one thing he's going to have in absolute masses is movement. He will be able to run significantly faster around this map than psygib, but he's going to have a harder time in the damage. And with items like this, with the Heavy that's about to spawn, like dooi, he's a madman if he's going to chase it. And the points where show psygib a ton of respect, because we've only just started. Look at the stack difference and how much more punishment psygib is going to be able to take. He can still sit around here and make his presence known. He got hit by 2 rails, yet dooi is the one taking all the damage, and he barely wins that fight. He barely wins that fight.
Yeah, I mean, psygib was in a choke point, best place he could be, knew he wasn't going to be able to run away with Anarchy. His only real opportunity was to man up. But look how healthy he is now off the spawn. Oh no, dooi misses an easy rail though. That's not what you want to see. And psygib now knows he can push in, having hit a rail of himself, take some damage, but he's still incredibly healthy. He now has control. You can't be missing simple rails like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the kind of missed rail that it can't help but frustrate you, because you know that there is no logical reason you should have missed it. But now, playing the rail game, he knows if he's competing with a stack here. But you can see how reserved he is. Even if he sees an inch of psygib, he's reserved to pull the trigger round those corners just in case the shot misses and the pillar gets in the way. And that missed rail was a green light for psygib to be aggressive and start firing back.
Absolutely. psygib looking really healthy, but dooi get himself on the Mega? Can't hold his ground. This is what we wanted to see. He needs to have this presence. He needs to be in the face of psygib, dealing that range damage. Obviously, he can engage in close combat, and now he will be going down as he gets hit onto the jump pad. After doing such good work, and I was praising him, and he's dead again. Oh no, it's not what I see.
A little bit too fast off the spawn there. psygib's going to punish. Punishment is the key of Keel. If you make a single mistake, he has every resource to just destroy you for it. Especially in the hands of psygib, so well known for having insanely good accuracy, great combat. Even in this fight, he's taken a bunch of damage, but he was still sticking around to try and pepper out some of the damage himself. The light health is going to keep him healthy. The light armor's been taken up there too. And hang on a minute. Okay. dooi had the right call out. Heavy's going to go to him. Will he be able to chase? Sounds like Keel's already long gone.
Yeah, but dooi recognizing he can't afford to give away a free item? This is not, I mean, thinking back to this morning where we saw, I think it was Genic playing the Slash up against the Scale Bearer. He was giving away too many free items, so the Scale Bearer had an easy time on Zenik, but now doi's making sure he's not the same.
But it looks like here, right as the Mega spawns, psygib, that's really his result. Because now he can listen around. The second he knows the coast is clear, we can go and take the light armor. And from that position, we just go straight back into that range game. Saw a lot of shades of it in the start of the map. dooi hitting that rail, actually risky business, but able to get rid of a lot of the armor. And that should be a free reign to run in and seal the next frag. And he will do 2-2. Not without dooi taking a ton of damage there. More of a delay from psygib. He's going to delay it by 3 seconds. The goal is to weapons. He's able to get one of the items, but he only has a heavy machine gun in hand still.
Yeah, exactly. So doi's doing a great job so far of keeping him off the map because psygib's just scared.
Good opening rocket.
Nice.
And a rail.
That was really smart from dooi because dooi realised that he couldn't A, pressure that because it was risky, and B, he needed to force psygib out of his hole essentially, and so allowing him down there, Dooi got some free damage on it, but as we can see, psygib's still so healthy just because of the pure size of heal.
5-minute warning.
Goal is always... Even if you're going to go down, let's just damage as much as possible so the refrag might be possible, just so they can't run around and continue to bully you as you spawn. The danger that you heard it, the rails are coming out. psygib, the rail 1v1. He lost his armor, so you have to show a lot of respect. He's going to back off now, but still kind of hard to call this one either way, to be honest, with how close things are right now.
It's incredibly close. As Dooi does man up and he comes out very, very healthy. Plenty of time to set up here as psygib doesn't have any weaponry, but Dooi unfortunately messes up the rocket jump. And that gives psygib a much needed lifeline.
He's going to waste a little bit of time to an opportunity for psygib to run around and pick up some weapons without being challenged. He's got access to a rocket now. He does need to make sure he's got access to the rail, though. Something that he is unfortunately lacking. He's got a decent amount of his grenades ready to go as well, which means that Dooi does try and trap him with one of these close range encounters. He can't really survive doing it, so... Interesting watching how psygib has been trying to play around this without having a rail. Oh, wait a minute, here comes Dooi. Right, that one disengage allowed psygib to get a rail. Now we can play more traditional ranged game here.
Yeah, and then Dewey's put such emphasis on trying to prevent that as well. It's definitely the biggest lifeline for psygib, as Dewey's positional game has been on point so far. This map is picking away really quickly. There's only 3 minutes left. Nice combo. But still, look how the difference...
Oh, watch out!
He can push it now. No way!
I would have been shocked if Dooi somehow lost that just because that one missed SSG could have been the beginning of absolute disaster. Not again! No, not again! Oh, no! That is a heartbreaker and a half if you're in Dewey's boots. An opportunity to really start to mount a lead here. As we have just over 2 minutes left on the clock, this is potentially the end of Dooi. psygib has the stack, he's got the weapons, he's got the ammo.
Oh, risky coming through the teleporter, it doesn't pay off. No, Dooi, that was the wrong choice. But he has died just before major items, so he's on the board. But just look at the stack that psygib has to work with when he picks up this mega item.
Even bigger.
Ouch.
The rocket jump towards Mega that didn't hit its mark and he got punished heavily for it. That's the moment it's all started to fall apart for him. He's played so well all series long. It would be devastating for the loss to come down to a mistake of that caliber.
I come bearing gifts.
But now, as we are less than 2 minutes on the clock, and psygib with the lead continuing to just establish himself towards these items. Dooi.
He knows
is
if he
in
takes
big trouble.
items, then Dooi can't do anything. He's got to hit basically 3 rails in a row. Psygib's 1. It's an incredible ask when you're stacked. But good. Do the inject. He knows now he needs to force a fight, and that's what he wants to do. Oh, he gets the major item. He deals some good damage as well, but psygib has still got a lot to work with. He's going to hold around this choke point. Dooi cannot push through. Pretty
And
stuck.
with no armor
Oh
on
no,
deck.
he got hit by grenade! Oh
no
no,
armor
psygib's
on
on the
deck.
fade! Oh
This,
my god!
by all means, he hits a rail.
No, Dooi.
How do you recover from this? You have a minute to get your stack back up, not die, and get a single flag, just to make things 1-1.
Dooi needs to hit 5 rails. Put it in context.
Alright, he's going in, he's taking tons
1.
of damage. Dooi! That was a hard-fought series is what that was. All the way up until the last minute, and now Dewey's going to press and be aggressive, but too little too late now, as psygib keeps his control over the map. He's got tons of stack to work with, he's hitting the shots still to this day. And Dooi, I mean, he fought really hard. I was really happy with Dooi today. It's just unfortunate he couldn't get the win at the end.
You can see how perfect you have to play in such a matchup when there's a huge stack difference. That every pressure is on Dooi. If he slips up, he's dead. psygib can afford to make mistakes after mistakes. So at this level, it's so difficult to go in that matchup. And yes, there are players that can make it work, but I just feel personally, whereas all the pressures on the person playing the light champion. When they make it work, it looks incredibly easy because they run rings around their big opponent. They're chipping away at them with damage. They can't get on the map. But as soon as you get a hold on the map as a Keel, what can you do?
How well he was able to fortify himself too. And it is why we see those kind of matchups come through the longer we start to see competitive Quake champs is stuff like that. Like if you go into it and you have the game plan, as like psygib executed it really well too, where he was able to establish himself big time on those items. And then at the same time, he was hitting a lot of shots. He was hitting those rails when they needed to land. Just dooi almost consistently throughout the course of the entire map, he was even behind. Even if they were 1-1, it looked like he was behind.
Yeah, exactly. So all credit to dooi, like, played exceptionally well, all things considered. But psygib, the basics, did what needed to be done. Aim was definitely more on point than it was previous map.
And we can see from just a lot of these different replays, the longer the map started to go on, just look at the difference of stack. And that was just how long psygib was in control. So many of these situations, dooi. I mean, I really want to pin everything on a couple of mistakes, but there were those 2 separate rocket jumps towards Mega were really heartbreaking, I think, because if he just got that inch higher, he would have been able to take the Mega. Maybe the fight would have been different, but 2 times he wasn't quite able to get the height he was looking for and conceded frags, and therefore would give up Mega, and then the whole string of momentum would just snowball. It's a shame to see dooi play as well as he did, and he has come out of the shell a little bit today, but a couple of mistakes at the end that were punished so insanely heavily. Well done for psygib for the 2-1 victory at the end. We're going to go into our next heavy hitting matchup, and while we set that up, we're going to go for another short break. This is week 2, stage 4 Quake Pro League. See you soon.